What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 738 of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week. And of course, as always, I am Tony Mango, joined by Robert A. Felice.
Hey.
And Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
And all of you that are listening to us, I always want to know what you have to say. So drop your thoughts in whatever comment section or whatever platform it is that you are listening to us. Make sure that you, of course, chat it up on our Discord server. Hop on over to those channels and just have some fun over there, and make sure that if you are on YouTube that you not only leave your comments, but while you're doing that, you hit the like button, you subscribe, you ring your notification bell, because we will be, of course, having a post show live immediately after the Saturday night's main event coming up tomorrow. And next week we got the Royal Rumble. So that's, you know, one of the biggest events of the year, one of the most engaging ones.
Royal Rumble, the
afternoon. Oh, that's right.
Royal Rumble.
Saudi. Yeah.
Oh,
Saudi.
It's going to be like at 10 in the morning. Like,
wait, I'm glad you reminded me about that, because okay. I have to try to remember about that. Yeah, we got our usual stuff there. I actually put up last night the traditional Royal Rumble predictions contest. That is technically up now for anybody that wants to fill that out. I haven't remotely started to work on any of that. I have a template, so to me, I just changed 2025 to 2026 and basically just swapped a couple things around. But the typical setup that we have for that, 1 to 30 for the men's and the women's rosters, the predictions for things like who's going to be the Iron Man, the Iron Woman, who's going to get the most eliminations, who's going to have the quickest time, etc., etc. It's just for fun. When it comes to the three of us, we typically roll that into the fantasy league, and we'll kind of do that when the dust settles after the Royal Rumble. I'm no longer going to try to force myself to be like, oh, during the Royal Rumble, I'm going to do coverage for 3 different websites at the same time, and also the statistics work, and also try to do the predictions contest, because it's maddening. And instead, we'll just we'll reconvene with the predictions contest a couple days afterward or something. But we will be live afterward to do our usual Royal Rumble stuff too. So make sure that you have your email alerts set up for that. And if you want to help support us on the monetary side of things, you can toss a little spare change our way through the super chats or the thanks button, or join the YouTube channel membership. Just click on the join button there. It's the same stuff as the Patreon, only a little bit better. Redbubble and TeePublic is also where you can get your merchandise if you're interested in something on that front. So one of my favorite things about the hot tags is the heat behind it, and heat is very good at melting ice, and that is very important right now in these days. So if you are chilly out there for the icy storm or any other conditions that are absolutely abhorrent, then you know what to do. Take a blowtorch to those motherfuckers. And when it comes to the hot tags for this week in particular, we got a lot of TNA stuff to talk about, funny enough. Like, way more TNA stuff than we normally do. It is at least half of my notes, if not more. I'm going to try to condense some of them a little bit, because TNA is not the most important thing that people want to listen to on this. They typically want to listen to WWE and AEW more than anything else. But we've gotten more into the TNA stuff by proxy of NXT, and there are people that are fans of TNA, so I want to give a little bit of credit to some of the things that are happening, especially because some of them are pretty kind of bonkers and weird and pretty interesting. I also have some AAA stuff to talk about, so we're going to go a little bit all over the place. We got some New Japan stuff. I got proxy of one person in particular, and if you are a fan of they're standing a little bit more deeper than what I can get for something like a TNA thing or whatever like that, enlighten me in the comments. It's another great way for you to just like chat it up. Yes. So we do need to go back and talk about some stuff that we didn't get a chance to talk about last week. Now, typically we do kind of like what today is. We've got the hot tags on Friday afternoon, and last week, because of other stuff going on with SmackDown and everything, we did it a little bit early. So that meant that we didn't get a chance to talk about what happened on the TNA Impact AMC debut. And I didn't watch the show fully. I had it on in the background for some portions of it, and then I basically just was like, I'm not paying any attention to this. I'm just going to shut it off and do other stuff. But I amount of stuff that happened on there I thought was pretty interesting. And we got to go back and talk about them before we set up some of the other things, because we got TNA Genesis right afterward and all that. Sonya Deville is now in TNA. She is Daria Rae, the name she's going by, and she is essentially usurping Santana Marella's position of authority. In character, she signed Cora Jade to the brand. She is Elayna Black, because Cora Jade is a WWE name. The IIconics / the IInspiration are no longer in TNA anymore, and they have dropped the tag team titles to the Elegance brand. Looping into that, another thing to talk about for the Elegance brand, Mr. Elegance and Ash by Elegance now is no longer retired, it seems, based off of this episode from last night. We got Santana is the champion again. He beat Frankie Kazarian. AJ Styles came out and said, hey, can you please chant for TNA? Very Jeb Bush type moment. And that's what it was. He's like, hey, TNA, please clap. That kind of thing. TNA Genesis. I'm speed running through this because most of it's like, okay, well, if we feel like talking about it, we'll talk about it. And if not, then you got the news. I actually thought about maybe doing a little thing like that. Let me know if you guys think that this would be a good idea of like starting off the hot tags with something called News Flash, where I just kind of go like, the news is blank, and then now we can get into it. I don't know. Something that popped in my mind last night. Stuff that happened on TNA Genesis, though, that we will come back to in whatever fashion. KJ Orso, the formerly known Fuego del Sol, was on the pre-show. We got the Eddie Edwards and JDC retirement match scenario. JDC loses, so of course he's retired. Lei Ying Lee beat Zarya, who was replacing Danny Luna, and continuing the story of Zarya sucks for some reason. Righteous did not win those tag team titles, as we were talking about as a possibility that could have happened. Joe Hendry, the person who stepped in for Leon Slater, beat Moose and Cedric Alexander for a match that doesn't mean anything or whatever. And Santana retained the title over Kazarian in their Texas Death match. And after that, of course, we got more TNA stuff going on because Trey Miguel is back in TNA Wrestling. And he's also won one of the 4 Feast or Fired briefcases. So the other ones are Eddie Edwards and Eric Young and Steve Maclin. And then on top of that, too, there is the split of the whole thing with the system where Moose is out of the group. JDC is retired and he's out of the group. And then Cedric Alexander and Bear Bronson are now in the mix. So that's a lot of TNA shit to break down. And I think a lot of it, we all are going to be on the same sort of opinion for. But, I'm opening up the floor.
Well, okay. So let's start with the AMC debut, which was roasted almost in a way that I haven't seen everybody in the community come together in quite a while. This show was absolutely just torched for not being a great start for TNA. I mean, Conrad Thompson went so far as to say ECW on TNN had a better start, which, by the way, they just scrapped their whole show and aired a match from a pay-per-view. So it's remarkable how TNA had so much goodwill 2 years ago when they were transitioning from Impact Wrestling back to TNA, and they seem to have pissed that all away. That to me stands out the most. That wow, TNA just can't help but TNA. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's all I heard because, like, I of course didn't watch the show itself because I value my time. But as I only heard a lot of negative response to it. I believe the reports were saying less than half an hour of televised wrestling on a 2-hour show. So
especially when it starts off with like, we got a lot of wrestling to get to.
Yeah, there's 3 matches, and apparently none of the matches were particularly good, including the like the main event, which started good and then had a bit of a weird finish to it. And also cut out the ending part of the show as well, which is when they announced what the main event of Genesis was going to be. So anybody that was watching the show but didn't then click online to find any more information about it didn't know that the main event of Genesis was going to be a rematch and a Texas Death Match, because they cut away before they ran out of time before the broadcast to get that on there. So, big thumbs up to TNA. As you only get one opportunity to make a first impression with an audience, and by all accounts, everything since then has been fine. Like, again, haven't watched them, but apparently Genesis was pretty well received, and the second show on AMC was a lot better than the first one. But as that's your in most scenarios, I say most scenarios, in a lot of scenarios, especially when it comes to pro wrestling, your first show is going to be your biggest, or one of your biggest numbers you ever do. And I think they got about 170,000 viewers for that. So it's only realistically going to go down from there. Unless they sign someone big and they start getting some more positive notoriety. But right now it's pretty doom and gloom for them. But yeah, that's all I kind of have to say about the AMC debut. It was apparently a bit of a trash fire.
Based off of the responses that I had seen, and like I said, like I had some parts of it in the background and wasn't really paying too much attention to it and all, and I didn't even bother anything with last night's show. It just seems like it's another example of, we got a brand new start, and a brand new start is what we mean by you literally just can switch the channel that we're on, as opposed to, and we're using this to actually change the things that are problematic. Because, like, I guess the best analogy to put it is, like, if you've got a beaten up old car and the transmission's going and the brakes need to be replaced, and one of your tires is flat, if you take it to a car wash, it might look better, but that shit's still not running well. And if there's any indication of how this last night's show turned out, and all the leaks that are coming out from them you're not turning off their audio, whoever the fuck is responsible for the creative and for the managing and the producing and the editing and all the flubs of stuff, like cutting to the back and being like, okay, everybody, you ready? 3, 2, 1. Like, you can't do that stuff and continue to do that stuff and have it not seem like it's amateur hour. Eventually, people just go, all right, well, you know what? This ragtag group of people is actually not run even as well as like some indie feds that have nothing and no budget, and they could pull that shit off. What about you guys? And then that makes you look really bad for a perfect reason. TNA tries to say that it's going to be the number 2. And it's
number 2 in some ways.
I was just trying to word my way around that. I was saying, like, and it's true, it's number 2, but not the way that they want. I've watched more TNA in this past year since the NXT promotion crossover stuff than I have in the past 10 years combined, and they have never convinced me otherwise, that they're not still just TNA. And that's different people in charge. That's different roster people. It's like, it's just this black cloud above this promotion that they can't do anything right. And in some ways that, kind of ties back to some of the other things. Like, I don't want to be the yuck on someone's yum type, but I'll be honest, when I see the big things coming out of the AMC debut we've got Sonya Deville, but she's an authority figure. And she's brought in Cora Jade, who for some reason was struggling more in NXT than a lot of people would have expected that she would have, based off of just like how important she was to the brand. But like WWE, I guess reached a point where they were like, Roxanne's the one that we really want to push between the two of you, and you're guilty by association of like not being on her level, and you've gotten injuries and this and that, whatever. So it's like, all right, well, we got somebody who got fired from WWE and is just going to be talking. And then we got somebody else who was fired from WWE and is just doing OnlyFans right now. And, good for them. Like, that's, it's not a bad thing that I'm saying, but those don't make you go, wow, okay, well, this is a new era. And then you lose the tag champs. And then the guy that you put the belt on and then waited a month to do anything with and then took the belt away just wins the title back. And after AJ Styles has a little thing with Kazarian backstage where it's like, yeah, I'm going to come for that title. And Kazarian's like, all right, well, I'm going to lose it then. That way you don't come after me.
To be clear, you said this privately as well. I should have probably corrected you then. From what I saw, that is not what he did. He was talking. He was being interviewed, I think, by Mackenzie or maybe by Gia Miller. And Kazarian just walked up and he's like, what, are we supposed to hug?
Mm-hmm.
If you have anything to say to me, just say thanks for the house. And he just says, thanks. And then he walked away. And then he told Santana, yeah, go kick his ass. Like,
but he did the whole thing where he looked at the title.
Yeah, but
so that's the implication there is like, okay, well, if you and I are going to butt heads and you're the champion, I'm going to come.
You listen here, pal. The indication is that he's packing it in Saudi, apparently. So, like,
that's
who knows?
I mean,
I wish that worked in other parts of the world. I wish when someone just looked at me, that meant they wanted me.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, me too. But like,
sometimes that's what happens, Sometimes people just look at you and they're like, "I want you."
Probably, I'm striking 1,000 right now. So like, it's not really...
a married man.
Hey, let's be honest. A married man who's married to a woman who, when he finally saw her in person for the first time, the first thing he said, which was very stupid, was, "Oh wow, you're so much taller than I thought." Because my little cartoon character of a wife, I just kind of imagined, even though she had told me otherwise, I was just kind of like, well, you gotta be shorter. And then I'm like, oh, wow, you're taller than I thought. She never lets me live that down. She's always like, that's the first fucking thing he said when we met up. And I'm like, well, I couldn't be around everybody else at New York Comic Con and be like, hey, by the way, you're cute. Like, that would have been an awkward thing for,
but yeah, like I think AJ, I wish he would have done more in TNA. I wish he would have had a match. I wish he would have had a match with Kazarian. But like, it's not the end of the world that he's not.
Well, let's we can come back to some of the TNA stuff. You brought up the Styles thing. You know what? Let's wait and talk about that when we talk about Raw. Actually, yeah, we'll come back around to that.
There's only so much more to talk about TNA because like the main other thing is, well, the main two other things happened on the recent, because Genesis was Genesis, like nothing really changed, nothing was super memorable, like no big titles changed hands or anything along those lines. So I think you can kind of just park that where it was.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with the Genesis thing to me more than anything is that's your first pay-per-view after your AMC debut, and it's your first pay-per-view of the year, and you don't do anything on it. So it's like, if anybody was watching the AMC debut and thought, oh, this isn't really all that great, then it's like, yeah, but if you pay, this is going to be even better. And then you watch it and you go, hey, there's matches on it, if that's what you mean by pay. But then,
it was considerably better.
Like all the things that are like, and then here's a big change. They all happened on the TV show. And then the pay-per-view was just, you didn't even have like one title change or something where you could be like, you see, something happens on every show. It was just sort of like, and then here's, and I'll give them a little bit of slack when it comes to the idea of like, they did have the travel issues for some things. So like technically maybe something was supposed to happen, but I highly doubt it. I assume that, like Joe Hendry winning the triple threat, it was just going to be Leon Slater winning the triple threat most likely. So, But the Trey Miguel thing,
it could have been Danny Luna winning the title. Maybe.
She could have, yeah, like maybe that could have been what they had planned. In which case, like I would have, potentially just maybe given it to Zarya or something. Like,
but in some other, just real quick, mostly a question for Callum. I have a feeling I'll just shut this down. But Sean Ross Sapp did report that the Inspiration does have interest elsewhere in wrestling.
No.
Okay.
No, it's just like, can we stop hiring really mid wrestlers and saying just because they were in WWE and they're quite funny behind the scenes? It's like, fuck off.
In this case,
you need to be able to wrestle. You need to be able to wrestle to be in AEW, or you should be. That should be a bare minimum. It's in the fucking name. It's elite, all elite wrestling. It's not mid comedy goofball wrestling. It's like that's where I draw the line. You can be a comedy goofball like Orange Cassidy, but he's a really good wrestler as well. It's like fucking Peyton Royce, Billy Kay, like Jess McKay,
Cassie Lee.
I was only asking because they did just start the tag division, but obviously, I think I might have said this either in our group chat or at least to Tony. It has to be WWE because where else would they go? But yeah. I thought I would just throw it out there since AEW did just start a tag division. That was my only reason for asking. I understand your points, though. I love the passion.
I'd rather than just throw together tag teams because at the end of the day, like, I wouldn't want them winning or getting even close to the tag titles because I feel that really sets those titles, but would set those titles back and put a black mark against them immediately. So in which case, if they're just going to be there to win the occasional match but mostly job, then they can just throw together a tag team, like two people together and be that tag team instead. So they've got plenty of people that aren't doing stuff. So but in terms of Trey Miguel, so by all reports that were going out was suggesting that it was a level above Tony Khan's head. So
yeah,
you presume this was a Jay Briscoe incident where they essentially said, yeah, he said certain things in social media posts several years ago, and we don't want that sort of person on TV. Which I don't get these people. I don't get these TV executives in terms of what they do allow and what they don't allow.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's entirely arbitrary. And like this guy Trey Miguel said some things. I haven't actually gone back to look at it, so I don't know how bad they were. I presume based on this that they were like things that he shouldn't be saying at any age. But you're young and you can sometimes say silly, inappropriate, irresponsible things, or he might have thought those things back in the day.
So this is what he had said, that according to the one thing that I had seen was, for context, he had responded to somebody on Facebook. I haven't seen what the person originally had said, but his response was, obviously you're gay. Most people as unattractive as you become gay out of fear of rejection from the opposite sex. So you find comfort, ability, and familiarity in the same sex and end up matching someone who's the same as you, ... gay, because there's no other fucking options. You ugly bitch. Yeah, truth's a bitch.
Okay.
Which, okay, that's a shitty thing to say.
Yeah, it is absolutely a shitty thing to say, 100%. And I don't think that he should be not to say forgiven for it, but people grow and they change and all this other stuff as well. And also, you can put a guy through something like sensitivity training or something along those lines. Actually show that you're taking an effort to say, okay, this guy, we are aware that he said these things in the past. He has informed us that he no longer holds the views and he is very apologetic about them. We're going to put him through sensitivity training. He's still signed with us, but he's going to go for a month probation period where we put him through sensitivity training, then he'll join up with the rest of the Rascals after doing that. And if there's any other indication, he's on a one strike basis, if there's any indication of any of this happening again, then he's out immediately. And then you immediately settle the issue in a professional manner. Because I'm not being funny. Things were like Jay Briscoe and saying, I'm not saying, again, that these people should be just completely absolved and never brought up or ever mentioned about this. But they've got a guy in Sammy Guevara on the roster that said in the podcast that he wanted to rape Sasha Banks. and it's like,
And there's
where's
so
the line
many
of all
other
this stuff?
examples
Where is
as
the
well.
line? Yeah, where is the
Like,
line?
You're okay with yeah, I mean, even just to, to varying degrees of different things that people have said. We also don't even know. Let's put a blanket statement out there too. And this is, I think, applies to every time that any of these kind of discussions are spoken about. Every single person in the fucking world has said things that some people are going to be upset about. It's just, there's nobody who's fucking perfect. And that's not an excuse, but it is like a reality check. Every single person has said at least one thing in their life that somebody could be upset about. Everybody's been derogatory towards something or a group of people. In some way, you've made some kind of a joke or something. It's happened. And you need to discern the difference between that. Now, this wasn't Trey Miguel making a joke, and I'm not advocating for what he is saying. But if there's a pattern of behavior, that to me is always more indicative than a one-off remark or so. And when you see a pattern of other bad behaviors, and then you can try to do the kind of thing where some people would be like, oh, it upsets me that he said this about somebody who's gay, but I think that that's a problem, but it's so perfectly okay for you to say something against Asian people or something. It's like, well, why are you making an excuse for one and the other one's bad? If it's a bad thing, it's a bad thing. Flat line, just, any kind of bad thing should be a bad thing. So when you get into the thing that Sammy Guevara, the comment that he made is different than the one that Trey Miguel made, they're both bad. And it's like, do you like either of those? Your answer should be no. And then they should both be approached with the same sort of how do we move on from this in a way that is better for everybody, not just for let's just put our blinders on and pretend like it's nothing. But when you get to the company being yeah, Jay Briscoe, absolutely no. Trey Miguel, absolutely no. Hey, when can you bring in that Ric Flair or that Chris Jericho again? How the fuck are you supposed to be okay with that? Oh, because they matter more to you. Because at the end of the day, Warner Brothers is realistically saying, we want to take action on somebody like a Trey Miguel like this, because we want this as ammo to say in the future when somebody does something else wrong. But we did that for the Trey Miguel guy. Now, a Chris Jericho type or a Ric Flair type, you bring them in because you think that the monetary benefit of that bigger name is going to be worth the risk more. That's ultimately what it is. If you put them in a truth serum, that's what they would say. Because I guarantee you, it's not a matter of an executive up at the higher end of Warner Brothers, which is a fucking mess with this whole merger thing and all that happening. I'm sure that that's chaotic right now, are going to take their time out to be yeah, but that guy said this one thing and that offends me more than anything else that anybody on the roster has done. Come on now. That's on the same page, if not less of an example of what people that are still on the roster have done. You can't play that game. And, it can't be the type of thing this is a weird analogy for it, but it's the first thing that popped in my mind. Somebody does something 99 out of 100 times, and then that one time out of 100, they don't. And then you go, oh, listen, that's bad behavior right now. You can't keep doing that. And then when other people do they do it 1 out of 100 times, you praise them for it. And it's it's not fair. You got to hold everybody to the same standard. So if somebody who's another person that's on the roster right now, Sammy Guevara is a good example for that. Who's another person that's done or said something that's been yeah, I should walk that back and I should talk about that again or whatever. Excalibur, right?
Excalibur, yes.
So he's on commentary every single week. Why is that one okay, but the Trey Miguel one isn't?
I think it comes down to the fact that they're trying to set a line of you can point to the Briscoe thing, you can point to the Trey Miguel thing. See, we have a hard stance on this. I do think that in general, we gotta be allowed to let people learn and grow. And I know, like, especially in these times, that's such a hard thing to get to right now. But when people within the company are reportedly saying, according to Fightful, that they're not happy with the move because it's obvious that Trey Miguel isn't like that. And I want to put this out there, not that this excuses either the homophobic or anti-Semitic comments he made, but especially when you look back and you say that the person he was coming at was a guy who was revealed to be the launching point for the speaking out movement, which it's been 6 years if you don't know. Speaking out was wrestling's equivalent of Me Too. It's, again, doesn't excuse what he said, but he's also been very apologetic for those things that he has said, and it seems like it was just a hard stance. And on the one hand, I credit them for having a hard stance, and on the other, I think we need to talk about where's the line and how do you grow,
because this gets into other, deeper topics, whatever, but you can't expect somebody to just you did bad thing, and there are different levels of bad things. Obviously, if you slap somebody in the face, it's not as bad as if you shoot them in the face. You know what I mean? But you have to be willing to have a resolution to something. And the resolution can't just be, I don't like what you did, so you should essentially evaporate and no longer exist. And if you allow people to move on and grow and be better people or whatever, then those are the types of people, if anything, that they are able to facilitate the growth in other people. And how many people are recovering drug addicts that go to talk to other people who are having substance abuse problems, and they are the ones that let those people, they can click, you think this, and that leads to this, and this is why it's wrong. And then they go, oh, okay, you opened up my eyes. And that's beneficial. That's a good thing, to be able to move on from those things and become a better person. That should be the goal for these things, not just, I'm upset about it and I would rather you never work again, or, anything along those lines and stuff. And here's where where we put aside a little bit of the whole reality of everybody, the hypocrisy of AEW, and not AEW. I wouldn't say AEW on this front.
It's Warner.
It's Warner on this front.
Yeah.
Although AEW does have the responsibility of AEW could just be the ones that go, yeah, you know what? And we're the ones that don't want to put up with those other bad people. So they're not excused in that front either. Outside of that stuff, here's the quote unquote funny thing about this. And the more wrestling side of it, for people that are God damn it, every podcast these days is Tony complaining about, the horrible dictator and everything. Trey Miguel won one of the Feast or Fired matches, or briefcases. He has a 1 in 4 chance in kayfabe of getting fired from TNA after he left TNA to go to AEW that he got fired from. And I honestly think they're going to do it. By this group, it's Eddie Edwards, Eric Young, Steve Maclin, and Trey Miguel. I haven't been able to find any information that says specifically that these are the 4 briefcases. For some reason, I guess they didn't announce what those title shots are. And it could be, you would assume, the world title, and then at least one of the 2 mid-card titles, International or the X Division. And then the other one's either whatever the other one is, the X Division or the International, or it's the tag titles. It makes more sense to me if it's the 2 singles titles, because why would one person win a tag thing or something? But they've done that plenty of times in the past, so it's not like that's not an option. According to some of the spoilers and some of the stuff that came out or whatever, it seems like Eddie Edwards has the world title shot, which makes sense because if they booted everybody booted Moose from the system and he's kind of the new leader or whatever, then okay, you put him in that spot. Not something I would necessarily do, but whatever. So that means that becomes then a 1 out of 3 option for Miguel to have the pink slip. And it's Eric Young and it's Steve Maclin. I kind of assume that Eric Young gets the X Division title shot and loses to Leon Slater, but Trey Miguel could get the X Division title shot. And then I kind of assume Steve Maclin just gets the international title shot, but maybe that's what Eric Young does, so he could use lose the stacks or something. I kind of assume Edwards world title, Young X Division, Maclin international, and then Miguel gets the fired. And this is their like roundabout way to tell the story of him leaving the company and then getting fired from AEW and then like working his way back into the company, which is almost kind of brilliant. And it's also kind of absolutely fucking stupid.
Brilliant if they didn't already put out to the press that they re-signed him.
Yeah.
It's like that Simpsons thing where he's like, stupid like a fox.
I would say that, like, listen, with the if this is like a WBD call in terms of whether they sign Trey Miguel, then it's pretty much closed books. They never greenlit Jay Briscoe coming back before his unfortunate death. So, like, I would say that, like, until they're off that network for whatever reason in the future, then that is like Trey Miguel will never work for AEW, just based on that. So yeah, I assume that he's re-signed with TNA. My presumption would be that Steve Backlund's got the pink slip and he's going somewhere else. Because I think he's a decent talent. I'm not saying that he's like anything super spectacular, but he's been with TNA for quite a while. Eric Young, I think he's stuck with.
I'll say I think Young has the pink slip.
But my thing with Young getting the pink slip is that, okay, so Young gets pissed. Does that mean he's retiring because he's not going to WWE?
Yeah, I think he's just done.
Yeah, that's the other option. Is either Eric Young's done, he gets the pink slip, and then that's just the either end of his like main sort of TV career, and he just does a few bits and pieces on the indies every now and again, or Steve Maclin's got the pink slip, and it means that he's going to either AEW or WWE. I think both of those are far more likely than Trey Miguel getting the pink slip, because I think he's now kind of locked in there, because this is now, unfortunately, because of decisions, but beyond Tony Khan and AEW's control, this is where he has to be now.
And, it's good for Trey Miguel to bounce back and get signed back with TNA and be able to just kind of, all right, well, let's, go back to business as usual, instead of being like, all right, well, now what do I do? That sucks. Honestly, there's a certain part of me that's like, oh, this might end up working out better for AEW in some ways, because like then you have a trio instead of 4 people. And when you have 4, it's sort of a one man out scenario. At least with the trios, you got, oh God, what's his name? It's not Wesley. Desmond Xavier. That's what it goes by. Yeah. Zach Wentz, by the way, again, another example, gets fired from WWE for the Hitler cosplay Halloween costume thing or whatever it was. That's okay for Warner Brothers. Just saying.
I think.
Hey, at least one of those executives has worn the same costume, probably. So that wouldn't.
I mean, that speaks volumes for like everybody. Again, look at the companies that fold, and look at the companies that are okay with that stuff, and
Well, I think in this case, because there were some anti-Semitic comments from Miguel as well, I think it really helps when the world champion of your company publicly said Zach Wentz has defended him against anti-Semitism, and you got the wrong guy. Like, MJF doesn't break character. MJF broke character to say, you got the wrong guy. Zach Wentz is a good human being.
But the people speaking up for Trey Miguel, it didn't work,
It just might not have been that strong. I will say this foursome is cursed. in terms of just being in the same place at the same time.
It really, like, they can't be a
Those poor
foursome.
boys can't do it. Like,
either you're one's in another company or one of them's like has a debilitating injury or something. It's just like, it ain't happening, you know?
It's one of these issues because it's like, I know again, it's a case of with Trey Miguel, there's things that he said. Again, no defense there in terms of, but you know, you can learn and grow. But he must have lost out on so much money due to just these couple of comments that he's made. Right. And it's one of those, because like he probably would have gone to WWE when they signed Des and Wentz at the same time. He would have gone with them probably, you'd imagine. And then he would be with AEW now and probably making more money than he would make in TNA, especially now because it's like this is kind of his not last resort, but you know, where else is he going to go that's on a TV, on like an actual like televised promotion in America? Like if the other two have kind of put the X up against you, then you just have to go with TNA instead. So yeah, I feel for the guy in that regard, but then it's also, in a strange way, it's one of those just reminders that like your internet footprint follows you forever. Like you have to, I'd say this is just something that probably people should know and should just be repeated out there, or at least I shouldn't be the one that has to tell you this, but don't be a dick online. Don't say stupid shit. Don't be, I sound like Hulk Hogan now, just don't get video tapes. Don't put your thoughts on, don't put your thoughts on social media, keep them in your head. Keep them in the head until the time that like everything gets on top of you and you carry it out in some kind of bizarre fashion or whatever. But like, don't do that either. But I mean, like, just don't verbalize any of this shit because it doesn't get deleted. It does. People will find it. People are that crazy online that they will dig out every single thing of you as soon as you sign for a big promotion.
And then that's, you know,
so the lesson is don't reach for greater heights.
The lesson is don't get caught.
Yeah. It's, you know, again, like it goes back to the whole, like anybody could be upset about anything. I've gotten people that have been like, you didn't like a Nikki Bella match. That means that you're an absolute sexist and you absolutely hate women. And you know, and it's like, bad things are bad. Good things are good.
After that was the real catalyst for that.
Oh, about how I didn't like Ronda Rousey either?
No, it's like the post he put out that explicitly said, I remember that Facebook post he put out and said, I hate women, exclamation.
Oh, that one, yeah. The one where
what do you mean just one? Doesn't he do that every other day? Like,
he saves that for our private messages.
What's the Pablo Francisco joke? I think it's Pablo Francisco where he's like pretending to be a guy where he goes like, I hate blacks and Mexicans and Chinese people and whatever.
It's the Jerry Springer joke. What's your problem? I don't like black, Mexicans, and Chinese. Oh, that's great. We just have to have some.
That's right. Yeah,
black,
that's
Chinese. I think more people have to be like me. I just hate everyone equally.
I mean, I'm at that point. I got less people that I don't fervently hate than ever in my entire life, and that includes people that used to be basically family. So it's just, you know, at this point, as somebody who is not a spiritual person, the whole let God sort them out approach is like, it kind of makes sense a little bit, you know. But yeah, I mean, look, like
we're having fun, but like in all
there's a reason there's a protest happening right outside my my windows right now. And if you heard those honks and stuff like that, fuck yeah, go everybody, good things.
We're having fun, but like realistically, it sucks that the foursome didn't get signed to AEW. I'm glad he landed on his feet. He genuinely seems like he's taken steps to be a better person. So I'm glad that, you know, he's able to continue providing for himself and his family and just improving as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay. Go ahead. I was going to move on to something else. So if you want to say anything more about Trey Miguel, then by all means.
No, I was going to move on to just touch on the Ash by Elegance thing again.
Oh, that was exactly what I was going to move on to.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. See, everybody voice your opinions online. The Ash by Elegance being potentially back, that's good. Good for her.
Yeah, I'm never going to pretend to be like the biggest fan of like Dana Brooke or Ash Elegance work, but it's never good for someone to have their career taken away by them by something out of their control. So if she has been able to regain control of that, or whatever was causing her need to no longer be able to wrestle has gone away, then that's great for her, and it's good that she'll be back doing stuff in Impact.
Yeah, so whatever it was that was making her think that she would be retired, I don't know what it was. Out of my own curiosity, I'd be interested to see or to find out what that whole situation was about. But if it's a personal matter and it's not for us, everybody's got to keep in mind, and this goes to how you judge other people too, rightfully or wrongfully, how you judge people. If you are not really, there are levels to the concentric circles of friendship and parasocial relationships and online stuff and celebrity stuff or whatever. You think you know these people, but these people are celebrities and these people have lives outside of this stuff. So it's like, just because somebody posts something, a picture of, I don't know, like these two people are standing next to each other. Oh, they must be dating or something. It's like, you don't know. And you got to give everybody some slack and stuff. And there are things you are not going to know as a fan of somebody's personal life. And that is okay. So if we never find out what it was that made Ash think that she had to retire, that's not on her to have to share it with us. We are fans. We really, realistically, the only communication back and forth that we need to have is she acts and puts on a character. We watch that TV show. We engage with the character. We either don't like the character or we do. That's it. So, you get into your fandoms and you get into your whole like celebrity worship things and people go crazy and, out of my own curiosity, just from somebody who analyzes wrestling and stuff, I would be curious to find out what it was that was the problem and what made her now be able to come back, because I just kind of want to know, like, was it like, oh, we got a really bad neck injury, and then in the future I can work that into like, oh, okay, if she has a really bad neck injury, then maybe she shouldn't be doing these types of spots, and oh, that was really dangerous, but they did that in this way, or like that kind of stuff. And if it's something that's personal she doesn't want to share, totally on her. So people are weird about that, which
I for one am just glad that she's not finished, because it really finally seemed like, oh, she's found her niche. Like she found herself in wrestling and had to give it up real quickly. So I hope she's back, and I hope she's back for a long time.
If she is truly back, I think she beats Lei Ying Lee.
Yeah, like let's just reset the timeline a little bit.
Basically, yeah. Because like Danny Luna could have potentially done that, and then it might have been the transition from Danny Luna over to Indy Hartwell, but it sort of felt like they were going to go Ash by Elegance to Indy Hartwell, and Lee winning that was, by proxy of, that's the third time I said by proxy. I don't know why I got that in my head today. In relation to the Kalani Jordan thing, which was not the original plan anyway, and also, reset the timeline, as you said. Please reset the timeline in a lot of other ways. Somebody send back fucking Kyle Reese. Stop Brock Lesnar from beating The Undertaker. That's it. Save Harambe. Do whatever you need to do. I don't know. I fantasize about being able to go back in time more now than ever. It's insane. But speaking about the whole like behind the scenes things and what you should know and what you don't need to know, and the things that you get confused about because you think that you know the people but you don't really know who they are, so you probably shouldn't approach Seth Rollins and say, hey, Colby. Like, you don't fucking know Colby. You know Seth Rollins. Give them a break. 5 episodes of Unreal season 2 came out. Now I've watched all 5, and I know Callum hasn't watched any of it. I wouldn't put that
I've watched clips. I have not seen
yes. I've seen whatever clips pop up on my X feed every now and then.
You've probably seen the same amount of clips, but I'm still willing to talk about it.
I forgot to take notes, because I had that on while I was working on other things, and then I was like, oh, you know what, I probably should have been taking notes for the podcast and whatever, even though I was sitting there thinking to myself, I'll remember this, and I don't. I remember most of the things. Funny enough, two of the things that I remember are things that people would not give a shit about whatsoever on this podcast. I gotta remember to tell my wife. One of them being, hey, they have that mushroom coffee that we use the mushroom hot chocolate for. They have that in the conference room. Look at that. Go Rise. Yeah. And another one being that.
I'm not going to derail this now, but thumbs up or thumbs down on Rise.
Oh, it's I don't drink the coffee because I don't like coffee in any fashion whatsoever. I've never liked the coffee taste, so I can't.
I assume you've had it. How do you feel about it for your gut?
For the hot chocolate?
Yeah.
Oh, it's no problem whatsoever.
Good.
For the gut? Yeah. No, it's this gonna sound like a plug. Hey, sponsor us, Rise, if you're interested. For a guy that has permanent bags under his eyes and doesn't sleep well and has so many sleeping issues whatsoever, whatever, it takes the edge off, and sometimes it helps me sleep a little bit with the mushroom hot chocolate. And it doesn't taste like mushrooms. It tastes a little bit weird. Let's be honest. It's not full blown like this is the tastiest hot chocolate I've ever had, but I gulp down the whole thing, and then it's got melatonin in it, so it helps with that a little bit. But they had that in the background.
If we're fishing for sponsors right now, I just have to say that I've been really enjoying my new Nike boots. So if anybody there is listening,
hey,
make us your
I'm going to take a drink from my Camelback bottle. Doesn't taste like anything but water. This was the last time we had a sponsor on this. Was Manscaped? Yeah, it was Manscaped, because we were supposed to get one for a cereal brand, and then the person backed out for some fucking reason. That they just they ran out of money or something. I forget what it was. It was like, oh shit, yeah, we actually can't do this. I'm like, all right, well,
that's fine. We can't reveal anything, but I'm no longer going kooky for things now. So
it was supposed to be one of those like healthful cereal things where it's like, it's got more protein in it or whatever, and they were gonna like send some boxes out, and I was kind of like, all right, well, I'll try it. I'll be honest though, like I'm not gonna bullshit and lie to my fan base. Is that okay? They
backed out then. Yeah. So.
Oh, they were fine with that. Yeah, they were fine. They were like, yeah, we don't want you to lie about anything, whatever. We're confident that you'll like the taste of it. And then they just didn't send it. And then I was like, you didn't send it. And they're like, yeah, we actually don't have any money for this anymore or something. I forget exactly what it was. But then I'm like, all right, well then I don't have the money I'm not going to pay you. I'm not going to buy your cereal and promote you.
So it's now turned into Smark out moment Unreal. So we probably should get back to
it. As if the show hasn't derailed into that over the past bunch of years anyway. But yeah, Unreal, they drink that stuff and whatever, and like I had like little notes here and there, but the 5 episodes, here was what I can remember off the top of my head about this. Number 1, it is very much edited in a way that tries to make WWE look better, yet they either didn't try as much this season as they did the previous season, or they are oblivious enough to think that what they did overcompensates for the things that are going to make them look bad, because there are things that makes WWE look bad in this, and it's almost like a read between the lines. You just have to have some literacy to be able to decipher this, and a time that there is no media literacy whatsoever. But a major topic that's coming out of this, of course, is the Rollins fake injury. And the parts that I found funny about this is they go into the detail about like, why don't we make this kayfabe injury? We act like it's a shoot, whatever. We're not going to tell almost anybody about this. The only people who know, if I'm remembering correctly, at like the base of this was Triple H. I don't even know if Nick Khan knew, but I think that Nick Khan knew. Heyman, Seth. They eventually told LA Knight, like right before the match or so. He told Cody, because he's like, well, you are a guy and you should know about this, which I already thought was like, all right, well, Cody technically didn't even need to know. They didn't even tell the referee for a portion of it. They didn't tell Cole and whatever it might be. Yet you're being filmed for this. And it's like, okay, so then anybody who's like the cameraman or the people working on the documentary or whatever, they know. So any of them could have leaked this. Kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. But you know, these things going to leak out some way or another. I think sometimes when especially when discussing like the Rollins injury, maybe some people when they were saying like, oh, he's definitely not injured. Maybe some people were just going with a gut feeling because the way they presented it. I mean, I haven't seen the full clip from Unreal. I know I saw like a few little bits, a piece with like Triple H talking to Cody about it and a few other details. But from what I remember of the incident, they did it well.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a well executed,
very well,
like thing that to the point where it's like, oh, I can't help but watch it during the thing and just like watch the Unreal thing and just watch the little clip I saw of it and just think, did they do this afterwards? Like, did the thing happen, and then they realised that he's not injured, and then went with it? But it's like, because it's one of those things that like, my mind is so warped with what's real, what's not real. I know it's Unreal, so basically none of it is real. But like, it's the idea of how much they're trying to work people. Is this actually what they did, and they filmed it, and it's all happens the way that it was supposed to happen, or did the thing happen where the spot happened and they were worried about Seth's injury, but then they decided, oh, he's not actually injured or he's not that badly injured. Let's see if we can work something with it. And now let's feed that into the documentary to make it feel like it was planned all along. And that's where my mind just gets a bit warped about it all. I
think that they planned it. I think that they pulled it off.
It's probably the simplest connection. It's probably the simplest explanation. But,
razor.
Exactly. Yeah. But I can't help but like maybe that's just like the wrestling fan paranoia mindset of coming into and just thinking, especially with WWE and how they have historically in documentaries stretched the truth to its absolute limits to the point where I can't really trust anything they do anymore.
So we were just talking Occam's razor. 10 imaginary points if you know Gupta's law of convenient anomalies or creative anomalies.
Go fish.
You got a guess, Rob? Gupta's law of creative anomalies?
Absolutely not.
It's from Tomorrow Never Dies. He says if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Because when Bond is like, oh, he's got a perfect record as a banker, and it's like, yeah, that's bullshit.
I mean, well, that just makes me sad because that's just my life.
But yeah, I mean, like if you take everything from the documentary as fact, which you shouldn't because it's 100% confirmed, reality shows are not just fact. They script things, they force things, they manufacture things, they edit things. Reality shows are not reality. They might show you glimpses of reality, and they do show you things that you don't normally see. And, you know, as stupid as it is about being like, oh, like what snacks do they have at the conference table? Or like, man, Chris Park really is just like, I'm sorry. And they're like, Chris, it's okay. Like, there's more than one segment that seems like that in this one. Like Triple H even has to, he's upset that somebody messes up something, and Triple H is like, that's not on you. If they go out there and they screw up, that's on them. It's okay. Relax, Chris. And he's just kind of like, I'm sorry, boss. Like, you know, it's still like they can bullshit this stuff, and they can try to hack and edit things and pretend like, you know, the crowd shot that they're showing was the reaction that happened, but we all know it's actually a different reaction, you know, shit like that. And it's weird to see something like this where it's like, yeah, we're setting up this whole thing with the Rollins injury or whatever. And in one day, LA Knight gets praised because it's like, oh, he handled this really well. And then you see the Money in the Bank thing, and it's like LA Knight messed up the finish, supposedly. And then it's like, we got to chew him out because he messed up the finish and we didn't get the pop that we were expecting. And a lot of people were jumping at that as being like, did that prove that that's why LA Knight's not pushed anymore? And it's like, well, realistically, they just they went from the one thing to another thing, and then right afterward it became, well, we really like what he did, and he did a great job. It would have balanced it out, you know.
Okay, so that's the context for that clip. Triple H is actually yelling at him, not yelling at him, but like speaking to
Stern
him in
voice.
a derogatory way. Yeah, because I just thought he was like, you know, it's all. I thought he was trying to like, no, man, but this is all for you. Like trying to say, hey, I know you didn't win, and we went with the guy we always would go with, but like stay focused. The moment is yours. I didn't get that they were actually saying, hey, you bungled the finish.
Yeah, the finish was supposed to be, according to the stuff on the show, that they both climb. Knight knocks down Rollins, and everybody thinks that Knight's going to win, and then Rollins comes back up and knocks LA Knight down, and then wins, which is like as standard as it can get. So it's really not all that special, but they thought that was like really, really special.
Well, the way that they pitched it apparently was like Knight would overcome like 5 times of Rollins getting up and keep knocking Rollins down, but ultimately just not make it, which is, I think it makes it look worse. Like personally.
Yeah, it's all
Wasn't one of the clips that's going out was the like Triple H talking to Chris Park in the gorilla position, basically saying, because Chris was a bit upset about how, or it was a bit.
You talking about the thing I was just talking about?
Oh yes, sure. yeah, absolutely. But it's just the case of. Did you mention the line about them saying you can't put on a pair of trunks and go out and do it yourself? Because
it's like it's not on you for them to do this the right way. If you set it up that way, then
I think what
John's
getting at is Abyss absolutely could go out there and do it himself.
Yeah.
He probably could. He probably could, but I don't think the trunks would work as well. But I think that it wouldn't shock me if this was the reason why LA Knight's been kept at a certain level since then. It's like people have been slotted in a certain position of card for less things than that, for bungling a big spot in one of your bigger matches of the year. So I know he was praised afterwards for the for how he handled the Rollins match afterwards, but that's gonna be like, okay, good job doing your soldier, playing your part for this little role here that we needed you for, but you're no longer considered for any of the big picture things moving forward.
Well, that gets into the Chelsea Green thing that they did on this, because they praise a lot of people in this. Like there's a whole episode that basically revolving around, we got Penta now, everybody loves Penta. Penta's great. There's
real quick note on that, real quick, because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but just because a guy is happy that he's working somewhere is not a personal attack on AEW. Please stop.
Him being like, I love it here, I'm having a lot of fun, this is great for my career, is not like, and
not even like I love it here. He's just like, hey, yeah, I kind of always wanted to be here. I want to be the next big WWE luchador. That's not an attack on AEW. Like, what the fuck? Go ahead.
Yeah. But there is also a whole section dedicated to Chelsea Green. And it gets into she's finally building her dream home because she's finally now making enough money to be able to do that. And her career is finally going off, and she's got the US title, and this is great. And she's like, the more I see of Chelsea Green, the more I like her. She seems like a good fucking person. And of course I don't know for sure, but just seems like it. That's why I use the word seems. And it gets into the whole thing with the US title. And then it's funny enough to see a backstage thing where it's like, well, why don't we take the belt off of her? And then what do? I don't fucking know. And it's like, yeah, okay. So now we got confirmation that they have no fucking idea what they're doing. And that's why they didn't do anything with anything for a while and all.
To me, it's so interesting. Like, what do you mean you don't know? You have other women on your roster. Make somebody.
And Triple H's response is, if you put the belt back on Chelsea, who does she feud with? She's already beaten the people we want her to beat. And then he mentions B-Fab and Michin. And then he's like, And then the other people she is not allowed to lose to. Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill, etc. And they go on and they talk about the idea of certain people's roles are for certain spots. And they lump Chelsea in there too. And they say Chelsea isn't a Charlotte Flair. Chelsea's there to make the Charlotte Flairs. And I think that that's so shitty because it's like, you know damn well that there is no line if somebody is able to get over. Unless you enforce the line and you pigeonhole somebody into that spot for the benefit of nothing. Because if Chelsea is over and if you like Chelsea and if she is popular, why wouldn't you push her? Because that's not her role. She's supposed to make everybody else. If she can be that other person, though, you don't need her to make anybody else. And she can also continue to do that while she is one of those people. And it's so stupid that a company that's been around for 60 years or whatever, that have had all these people in charge, and some of them are pretty damn smart, not all of them, but some of them are pretty damn smart that they can understand these things. And yes, I'm not somebody who's worked in the business, so who do I fucking know? Blah, 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 all that shit. I use the analogy all the time. I don't have to be a fucking Michelin star chef to understand if you burnt my fucking steak if I asked for a medium well and you gave me well done. Like that, the difference between that. But like, oh, we love Chelsea. Chelsea's great. She's one of the best that we have, whatever. But, so we don't want her to be one of our best. Why? Idiot. Yeah.
It's one of those things that like with reality, it's like perception is reality, and once people get a picture in their mind about what someone can do or what they can achieve or anything like that, it's very hard to shift it from their head, regardless of what reality presents them and how well they actually do perform. It's really hard to change someone's mind once they've fixated that this person can do this. And because people don't like changing their minds and people don't like admitting they're wrong because they're, everyone's stubborn to a degree. So once they get the idea of like Chelsea is good at this and so she needs to keep doing this, then even if she proves herself that she could, if given the right direction, given the right push, given the right momentum behind her, that she could be at this level, that like she doesn't only have to do that stuff, you then have to have a person change their mind to allow that stuff to happen and continue and she has no control over that. She can't control what Triple H or anybody else in the back thinks about her and what they think that she can do. She can do everything that in her power to make them try and think that way, but she can't change their mind because they can only decide whether to do that or not.
We're not addressing. Chelsea's the perfect employee because Chelsea wants the exact role she's in.
It's one of those things that I'm sure Chelsea is very happy with the role that she's in, and like I'm sure she would never trade it away or say like, or would want it to go away. But I think deep down she knows, or she at least thinks and probably has a belief in herself that she could be more than what she's currently positioned in.
Mm-hmm.
But as you say, she's a perfect employee and she's going to suck it up and do what she's told because this is her dream. And, and that's one of the things that's like, you need to, it's good to follow your dreams, absolutely, and to reach that level because you've kind of fulfilled something and she gets to perform all around the world and she gets to be part of this big organization, gets to do all this fun stuff, and absolutely no shame on her for doing that. But once you get into that mindset, you can start becoming complacent or start thinking that you can't go any further than that because you just don't want to. And I don't think she's like that, but then people will just prevent her from doing it. Again, I'm talking about someone that I don't know, and I don't know what her circumstances is or what would, or how the real backstage machinations work beyond what we see in Unreal. But you have to imagine that there is at least, over the years, I mean, CM Punk said it in those promos that he did in the 2011s, where he would say, "Oh, I get talking about Triple H saying, I don't think he's got what he takes while he's laying in bed with his wife." That kind of mentality of like, if Triple H doesn't think, or certain people behind the scenes don't think that a certain person can reach the next level, or they're part of, Triple H's always talk about that people have roles to fill in like the big play or show of WWE. That some people, some people are the lead actors and some people, are the bushes on the side of the on the side of the stage. That some people are dressed up as the sheep or the horses or whatever, and like in the big menagerie of things that are going on. So, and I think that he fixates on those roles. He might be more flexible than Vince McMahon may have been in the past, but I still think that he has a vision in his mind of who is a main eventer, who is a mid-carder, who is a comedy guy or girl.
And also people do the whole thing that, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of like, if I think that this person is in this position, the only way I'm going to think that they aren't is if I think that they aren't. Exactly. And like a great example of it that, worked out in the long run for the person is Shawn Michaels. There's always that famous thing of like, hey, Shawn's getting cheered a lot. People really seem to like this guy. He wrestles kind of like a babyface in a lot of ways. Maybe we should babyface him. What are you talking about? Shawn Michaels is a heel, goddammit.
Shawn Michaels will never be a babyface.
Shawn Michaels will never be a babyface, and then he goes out there for WrestleMania. Well, motherfucker, Shawn Michaels is a babyface. Why haven't we turned this guy?
Getting cheered,
and it's like everybody was telling you that, Vince. Like you didn't want to listen until it's almost like a certain type of indoctrination that people are following right now, where it's like they don't want to admit that they're wrong, and then they don't want to admit that they're wrong, so that they tell themselves that they're right until eventually they're going to go, you know what? I think that this is a problem, and then you go, you fucking idiot, Sorry,
and
there's a big protest happening right now, so I'm very. But like the Chelsea Green thing is like, if it clicks in their mind at some point, it'll click in their mind, and they know it. They're right on the cusp of it, but they don't want to pull that trigger because in their minds they also are playing businessman, and they're also saying, I like the idea that I'm putting these people in these positions because I think that Chelsea overall for the business is going to give us more back by making multiple stars than if she is just one star. And there's an element that can be true about that for certain people at the very least. But yeah, at a certain point too, hey, give that guy a match with X-Pac because Kid can work with anybody. That applies. But also, hey, if you can't have a bad match with Shawn, then maybe put the belt on Shawn, like that kind of thing.
Well, it's like you just pigeonhole a bit, and that's like this is not like a Triple H bad sort of thing, mentality. Like every wrestling booker or every promoter that's ever existed will have this problem. None of them are entirely objective and just change things based on like the goings on in front of them. Some of them are better at it than others, but we've always talked about how why does Tony Khan keep trying to make Sammy Guevara a babyface? It's like that kind of mentality thing that like it just like some point, or trying to make Jack Perry like a top main event star when he's perfectly fine as like a good tag team guy or a mid card babyface. It's like, now let's make him a main event heel. That seems to be the right way for it. They sometimes just get fixated on an idea and will do everything in their power to make it right, even if it means having to go around the houses a few times on a few other experiments, but just to always end up just where they want it to be.
I mean, the peak example, Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is on his way out the door, but we feel like he only just got started because that tribal chief character was only 5 years after
10 years.
Seven of it being like, no, he's gonna be fucking Cena. He's gonna be Cena. Damn it. It's not working. He has to be Cena. Like,
why aren't you cheering for the big dog? He's big. He's a dog.
And thankfully we get around to something. But here's to go back to Chelsea. Roman Reigns openly went on TV and said, 2019 was the worst year of my career because I was just trying to do things their way, and it sucked. And it sucked. And it was terrible. Chelsea Green goes out on interviews, and she's like, I don't want to win matches. I want to have moments. I'm not knocking Chelsea, but because she's awesome, but she's just fine with where she is. So unfortunately, while we all agree Yeah, it sucks that they would say she's not Charlotte Flair. She's there to make Charlotte Flair. Chelsea's just fine with that.
Chelsea's in
I
the
don't know,
position
with
that
that-
people are outside of wrestling, even where it's like, wow, you're a really good assistant manager. You should probably be a manager, but you're a damn good assistant manager and you need a good assistant manager. And that's when you can go, okay, well, I can either leave and another company can see my talent and make me a manager if I want to bet on myself, or am I comfortable enough being in that B+ position and I don't want to rock the boat? You know. She's happy where she's at. Would probably want more. If they offered her more, she would probably take it and run with it. But it's like, am I going to gamble that and potentially piss them off? And then now I'm not in the position I'm in right now. And that anybody in that kind of position could be making the same decisions too. It's just a shame to hear that coming from WWE and hear them be like, wow, she's got all the tools and we don't want that. Like, damn it. Come on. Don't you? What a star that person is. Can't make them a star. Gotta let them try to make other people. But they also do things on this documentary that, like, the R-Truth thing is a major part of this. And it's like, I see where they're coming from, and I also see where they're not coming from, because on a technicality, if they are technically true and they are saying, we don't want to pay R-Truth as much and we want a lower deal because we don't think we're getting a return on our investment, and we're going to play hardball and let his contract expire because we are trying to force this human being to take less because we see less in them. It's a shitty business tactic of, like, it's a heartless way to go about things. But for a business, I understand that. But thankfully, everybody else was like, fuck you, we want R-Truth around. And then they re-sign him and all. And, it doesn't make WWE look good in any capacity. And I'm glad that they didn't have, like, R-Truth be like, everything was absolutely perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I say, it's kind of like, I'm starting to wonder what the purpose of Unreal is, to a degree, because I know I'm one of those people. I'm going to sound like a massive hypocrite here. We're saying, like, why are they making stuff look bad when I always, like, mock or talk about how WWE documentaries in the past don't feel like documentaries, they feel like puff pieces to try and aggrandize their version of history. But now it feels like Unreal seems to go swinging a little bit in the opposite direction, where it's like, oh, they're making themselves look pretty incompetent with all this stuff that's going on. to the point where I think that this must be by design, because they wouldn't allow all this shit to go out if they weren't, like, in some way involved in it, in some way involved in the production aspect of it. So I think they're trying to make themselves appear more, I guess, raw or human by doing this sort of thing. To, like, say, like, oh, we're not perfect, well, we make mistakes and we kind of think things up on the fly, we do some things that are wrong, but we bounce back from them and we try and make turn lemons into lemonade and all this stuff. So I think they're trying to make themselves appear just a bit more fallible to make them feel more relatable.
Yeah, probably.
And really, it's just they're obsessed with, oh, but we're gonna be so much more. We're entertainment. We're WWE. We're such a spectacle. Like, they're so obsessed. And I really naively, I thought, oh, this will get so much better to Triple H, who was obsessed with wrestling and is a wrestler. I thought, okay, maybe they would get away from that, but, like, they just want to be seen as this high class entertainment thing so bad that I think that's what this is. We're showing you how we make movies, pal. Like, to take the Vince McMahon line, but that's what this is.
I recommend people checking it out if they're interested in it, to see things like, how Lyra Valkyria was so upset at her match sucking, or, like, see moments where there's like if you want to see like backstage things here and there and be like, oh, this is what they do when like she wins the title and she hands it to her daughter and is like, belt's heavy, isn't it? Like like little cute moments like that and stuff.
Before we move on, Rick, can we talk about the one thing that I saw most across
Absolutely.
my X timeline about this? So there was a screenshot that was going across a lot of timelines that I say through my For You page, so it's not like people I necessarily follow. But the one screenshot that I saw over and over again was Io Sky jumping into Triple H's arms.
My God. Oh boy. To set the stage here, my brother texted me about this, which is just hysterical. But yes, go on, Callum.
So I've seen lots of different perspectives on this, both positively and negatively, to the point where obviously she's happy. I think the context is that she's happy about how Evolution went. I think that was it, wasn't? Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen people like chewing out her about this, chewing out Triple H about this, because they're like, I'd say in certain contexts you could imagine it's a little bit weird because she is a 35-year-old woman, like jumping into the arms of her boss. Like, and it's not like, hugging him is totally fine, but like doing that. But then I saw other people talk about how, well, wrestling's basically for theatre kids now, and that's how a theatre kid would react to a show going well.
Oh,
so
I can fully attest to that.
I have to say, I agree with that thing.
That's a fucking great analogy, actually. As a fucking theater kid who went back to direct as well, 100%.
Yeah,
that's spot on.
And I'd say, like, there is also this, and I feel dirty about saying this as well, because there is this kind of reputation. Oh yeah, especially among the Japanese women's wrestlers, and that's like translated across like multiple years and decades. I mean, some of the way they treated people in Stardom as well. There's like, there is kind of that element to it. So I can understand why some people found that particular interaction a bit icky, but I can totally also understand the other rationale, which is basically she's super excited. She's a wrestler, theatre nerd type person, and she just was super excited about how it went, and that's how she reacted, and Triple H was willing to go along with it because he knows how he's interacted with Io enough, so he probably knew what to expect. So I wouldn't like jump into this as like this super negative, this is disgusting, horrible type thing. I can understand it if you've never seen anything like that, or like just looking at the bare situation, you might feel, oh, that's a little bit odd. But then if you're more familiar with the whole wrestling atmosphere or the whole theatre kid dynamic, then I think that's it's more understandable. I just thought it was funny that was the thing that I was like seeing across my timeline over and over and over again.
Yeah, because people were like, oh, like I think even, not that this says much, but Russo might have done something about it where he's like, this is weird, and it's like, yeah, but also, like, he's not like forcing himself onto her, first of all, which I saw some people trying to make it that, and it's like, he's not doing that. And again, they are just a bunch of theater kids. I think that's a great analogy. And
no, if Vince Russo's got a problem with it, I know what's weird. Trying to write a segment every single week where Sable gets her top off. That's basically that's a weird thing to do. Creep.
Isn't Russo even like currently in like a storyline of somebody claiming that he propositioned them for sex for a push?
No, he said something on a podcast where he said he was doing a Me Too writing storyline in the NWA, and then he ended up not even working for the NWA. So no, that's not happening, but I understand why you thought that.
For the Juggalo thing or whatever he's into.
He is working. If that is happening, then I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that there's like a story going on for whatever that promotion is of like somebody being like, Russo threatened to fire me or something. I don't know. Russo's not the guy to listen to on this kind of thing.
Or anything for that matter.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, but yeah, like I looked at the Io Sky thing, and my reaction before seeing everybody else's reaction, my reaction was, oh, Io is like adorable. Like she's just like this little happy cartoon character that like, yeah, of course she would jump up into somebody's arms. She probably did the same when it comes to Rhea, you know, like that's just like her. It's totally a different story if it would be like I would be more concerned, way more concerned if I would have seen somebody like a Triple H be like, oh, that was a great match that you had out there, and then like pat one of the girls on the butt. Then I would be like, no, you shouldn't do that, dude. No. Like, I don't care if that's like a traditional wrestler, you pat the boys on the back, on the butt or whatever kind of thing. Like, no, you don't do that, you know, for the men or the women. Rather than somebody's excited and they jump into their arms and then you know, because like if he's holding her ass or something when she's doing that, like a couple would, then that's a different story. But he's holding her, he's hugging her, you know, seems fine to me.
I'm just looking at this Vince Russo story to like see what you were talking about. And it's like they seem to be doing like as a storyline a kind of mock thing of the Vince McMahon situation.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. You know.
Yeah. So it's like that's Russo. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's it? So there's a backstage interview where they said, well, it's one of the women's performers there said, well, it's very simple. Russo asked me for some very personal favors in order to get a push, but when he turned that down, when I turned that down, he asked me for some very personal photos of myself. When I turned that down, he decided to send me very personal photos of himself. So yeah, he's basically doing Vince McMahon in JCW.
And it'll be like, bro, it's a story, bro.
But like real Vince, yeah, real Vince McMahon, you know, because it's the reality things of it. It's like, bro.
The Lyra thing I thought was interesting. She's like super upset. She wants to make sure that she doesn't screw anything up and whatever. And there's like the elements of Bayley being like, yeah, I was kind of bummed that they just like took me off of Mania. And if you believe what it is, like Becky being like, well, maybe we don't do that. And, you know, Lyra comes out of this looking very good, I think. Because it's very obvious that she like really fucking cares and she's really trying and all. I think that most people come out of this looking pretty good. I think the people that tend not to look all that good are the fucking people in charge. Like, you know, hey, I'm gonna put out there that it'd be okay to fire this guy or like whatever, and pretty much everybody else seems to be like coming out of this pretty good. So I'm interested in seeing, you know, the rest of the season and all. And yeah, when that comes, it's sometime in September or no, not September. Maybe in the summer, I think. We'll talk about that when those episodes come around. Again, lots of hot tags to get into this week. Let's talk quickly about AAA instead of Triple H. The first TV show of this new, like, you know, setup that they've got going on. They had the way that they're setting this up apparently is that they're going to do one live show per month, and then they tape other shows that they then broadcast. So like this week's episode on Saturday hasn't aired yet, but we already know the spoilers for that. Again, it's not something I'm going to be giving a whole lot of time to, but I figured for the first show that I would do coverage of that. So I did that on EWN, and it continued to be the type of show that if there was less wrestling and there was more wrestling like this, some of that stuff would be pretty fun to watch. And Caroline perpetually always ends up being like, oh, is this the fun one? And it's like, yeah, this is the fun one to you. Because she's like, oh, I love how fucking over the top everybody is with their like the ridiculous outfits being like, you know, do you need to have like, why is this guy an iguana? You know, and when La Parka was coming out, she's like, what's this guy? And I'm like, oh, it's La Parka. He used to be in WCW, but it wasn't him. It was a whole other thing or whatever. And all this, and I'm like, you know,
I'll ask a quick question based on that. And I presume the answer is no. But did Caroline ever watch Lucha Underground?
No. I've told her about it.
That's probably the one that she would have enjoyed.
I told her that I told her that there's two promotions that I have never watched that if they for some reason came back in some way or whatever that she would enjoy based off of her AAA liking that better than like WWE, and Lucha Underground and Shikara. were the two that I mentioned. I was just like, based off of what I've seen, the little bits and pieces that I've seen, like those would be fun for you because they're like, yeah, the melodrama elements, but also wacky fucking costumes and stuff. So like when that was happening, and there's not much to talk about as far as like Nino Hamburguesa, La Parca, Mr. Iguana beat Hysteria, Abismo Negro, and Taurus. To me, it was, why is Hamburguesa's got an actual hamburger? Okay, what's happening with the hamburger? I'm assuming it was McDonald's. It looked pretty small. And, Rey Mysterio coming out there and cutting a promo, just being essentially like, hey, everybody, it's great that you're here. It made me realize that I can't do coverage for this if they don't translate things better, because I was just like, Rey Mysterio said something. I don't know. I don't remember my Spanish. Sorry, everybody. And like, there was a spot with El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. where he cut a promo about something. I'm not sure what. And somebody else came out and I was like, I don't know who the hell this is. And then the person unmasks themselves and it's Santos Escobar, which promptly got a response from Carolina of, wait, when did he get hot? And I was Santos has always been a good looking guy. What are you talking about?
Santos Escobar.
And she's like, yeah, but now he's hot.
She's not watching the WWE product.
Well,
he's also not on it.
He's not been on the WWE product.
She also liked the whole like confident, he's kind of a jerk thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, now I see why you like certain things. But I liked that. I was like, oh, cool, Escobar. I like Escobar. I always liked Escobar. And that led to a vignette with Dominik Mysterio, which went on for fucking ever from my perspective, because I was talking to her but not actually watching the promo. And after a while, I went, oh my God, is this still fucking on? And it's so good, and it's also so bad. It's a promo that is essentially Dom saying how great he is, and it just keeps going on and on. It's like a man that does this, a man that does that, a man that they speak of in this way, a man that, and it's like 12 examples of it. And I was just like, oh, Dom's amazing. And then I find out afterward that I should have been paying attention to the obviously AI portion of this, which I have my pros and my cons when it comes to AI. I use AI to do things that I can't do. I can't draw a fucking stick figure. So I use AI to make some things, like I'll take the Lucha Libre worldwide graphic and switch the thing over for that. It saves me a lot of issues or something, But they used this, and they have the money to pay people to do these things. And yet, despite that, they use the AI, and it shows that Dominik Mysterio is an AEW champion. It's so funny when things like this happen, because it's just like, it goes to show you, like, they would have rather done the AI thing and then not paid any attention to it at all than to just get somebody to do it.
And this is where people make the mistake with AI before going into how crazy this is. You still need to check. You still need to check the AI. Check. You still got to check it. You don't just, AI, is this miracle thing. Yeah, you need to do the most minor checks. That's it. And people still don't want to do it, which shows you everything that's wrong with the whole AI idea to begin with. It's just a means to replace human production.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dominik Mysterio.
I was gonna say, I thought that like we discussed this a couple of days ago when we were doing recording, like behind the scenes, and just like talking about how it's not just enough to have like one AI to create the image. You need an AI to like review the image and to tell the other AI what the mistake was in that AI image, and so they regenerate the new AI image that the other AI checks, and then they hand it over to another AI to post it, because obviously it's the human that makes the mistake and not checks it.
Which even that is like, you gotta pay a human to do that. You can't avoid it, like, I thought it was funny. I thought that they should be called out on it, because that's stupid. You should have people doing these things in a much better way. You're $1 billion fucking corporation. You can afford it. No excuses. So that was the AAA side of that thing. I guess there's no real spot to throw these in there except for just, before we wrap things up with like TV talk and stuff. Evil might be coming to WWE as if it's not already there.
Trump's finally arriving. Good.
Yeah, New Japan's Evil wrestler. Evil. And
that is New Japan's Evil as well. Yeah, this is. I mean, I can only speak for like my own portion or people who are like-minded New Japan casual enjoyers / fans, saying this is wonderful news. This is like the best thing. This is like Christmas and like my birthday came along at the same time, and it's magical that he's finally gone. And I think that it's one of those things that I've seen a lot of people more on the very more hardcore New Japan leaning side that are a bit not upset about this because of his gimmick or because of like the role that he's been playing with the House of Torture and all of that stuff, but more about how Evil's one of the few guys that was always willing to put young wrestlers over. It was always like, as long as I'm getting paid, I'm happy for you to just tell me what to do and I'll do it. That kind of attitude. And he had credibility because he's former world champion, so it meant that like beating him still meant something because they always continued to push him reasonably strong, even post that point. So, in a way, it's a big deal. I think it will have ramifications, negative ramifications for New Japan. But as someone who just hates his work and just doesn't think that he's particularly good, I'm just like, yeah, thank God. Can you take the rest of them? Can you take the rest of the House Torture as well and just bring them all over? Like that would be a bit of a godsend. But one is enough. Like you take the head off the snake, then maybe the rest of it will fall apart.
I still I couldn't tell you a single move that he does. I couldn't tell you if I would like his work, if I would really watch it, because I just don't watch New Japan.
Well, you don't know anything about Everything Is Evil? That's his finisher.
I couldn't tell you what that. If you said that that's a submission, if you said that that's a pinfall, if that's a high flying move or whatever, I'd be like, all right, sure.
It's what's commonly regarded in the business as an STO.
Which,
I don't see.
Not a great finish in general, but it works.
I hadn't seen anything from him that made me think I would want Evil to be in WWE. So I'm curious why they would, if they don't see anything in other people that are very much like, oh, well, wouldn't anybody sign that person? Is there like he's really tight with somebody or something?
Well, I think I don't know whether it's still the case. I think he at least in past was in a relationship with Io Sky.
Oh shit! Did she jump into his arms? Is that what it is? Really, Io? All right. Well, after that discussion, huh?
Yeah, but I don't know whether they're still together. I don't know whether they're still together, but like that might be the route into it. But also, like WWE has this weird like fascination of signing all the worst people that New Japan have, or signing good people but making them bad. Like, figure out the most recent signings from New Japan is fucking Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Hikuleo, and Jeff Cobb. They're all part of the same faction. They're all probably doing as well, if not worse, than they were doing in New Japan. So it's like, why? Like, what? I can understand them. So, okay, Tama Tonga makes sense. Hikuleo's big, so you can do it. Jeff Cobb should be doing more than what he is doing, but they've decided to slot him in where he is. But, if you sign Tama Tonga, then, like, or Tonga Loa, should I say, then the floodgates are open. It's like if you sign him, you'll literally sign anybody, because he was the worst that New Japan had. So I can it makes sense to me why they go for him, because at the end of the day, regardless of his overall star value, he is actually one of the biggest stars that New Japan has right now. One of the most credible names that they have. So if you can't get Okada and you can't get Jay White, you can't get Will Ospreay, Naito just leaves entirely and goes to another Japanese promotion, then who else are you going to get if you want to get a big name out of New Japan?
I don't know whose like contracts and stuff are up, but like
a lot of people, because this is contract season for New Japan. This is the end of the road for a lot of people. They're right at the and it's weird because like I think some people have been either announced or at least touted to be part of the upcoming New Japan Cup. So we don't know how many people are working with it, but there are certain people that seem to be working without a contract or are closing in on the end of their contract. Because contracts for New Japan usually usually break at the end of January. And there's a lot of speculation about certain people. There's speculation that David Finlay will go to WWE. There's speculation that Gabe Kidd will make the official move to AEW. So we could be seeing a bit of an exodus in New Japan this year, similar to the last big exodus they really had. Because I mean, they talk about like the AEW signings, but they happened over a staggered period of time. The last like big mass exodus they had was probably the WWE signings of Nakamura, Styles, and Gallows and Anderson. Like all like four big names moving all at once. So we could see something similar to that.
it's a new era for New Japan to be.
But it actually is with everything
hitting a reset button. Yeah.
Yeah.
And right now, it's like now they have to. They've waited way too long, and they've procrastinated on pushing new stars. Now they are going to be forced into it. So hopefully, they're ready for it.
So I guess pay attention to whether Evil is going to be popping up. That brings up another thing of, I don't think that this applies to him, but WWE has trademarked a new name, Royce Keys. Not my favorite name out there. A little bit weird to do that if potentially Peyton Royce comes back. Because then we would have quite a bit of people on the roster that, like, you're not really thinking this through. Like, do you have an LA Knight and an Eli Knight when he was
Eli Drake?
Eli Drake. And then you got, like, she hasn't wrestled as Calix in a while, but Jessica Carr was Calix, which is like, Calix is not a normal name, and Calix is the name of Sol Ruca. You know, like all that stuff. So if we have Royce Keys, and then we have Peyton Royce, and then we have, you know, at one point in AEW there was Cage and Page and you know, another Page and all that. I don't know who Royce Keys is going to be, but it has seemingly been confirmed pretty much at this point that Powerhouse Hobbs is going to WWE. So it's like, this could be Powerhouse Hobbs' name, which I hope is not. In the time
that we have been recording, Body Slam has reported that is going to be Powerhouse Hobbs' name.
Royce Keys. He doesn't strike me as a Royce.
I don't love it, but at the same time,
sounds like a British person saying Rice. Sounds like a British person saying Rice Krispies, actually.
Say Rice Krispies.
Royce Keys.
This is it's a complete side note. I've been seeing so many videos of these people from I think it's England. I don't know for sure where they're from. It might be from Wales, now that I'm thinking about it, where they're talking about having a chippy, and they're like, basically just we order takeout, and it's quote unquote Chinese food, and it's French fries and like fried pizza and stuff, and I'm like, what's happening here?
Well, it probably meant they went to a Chinese and they got that stuff from a Chinese.
Yeah, I just don't understand that, because it's like when I order Chinese, it's like, you know, in the Chinese containers, and it's like fried rice and stuff.
It's because to appeal to like local audiences or local taste buds, they'll probably sell other stuff as well, but still be officially a Chinese. But they'll sell, you know, more conventional stuff as well, if you want to call it that. Conventional for the audience in which they are based in. Like I say, I've gone to like multiple like kebab shops and stuff like that sell, you know, pizza and chicken nuggets and all this other stuff as well. So it's like,
yeah, I mean, for God's sake, you live in New York. This is commonplace for you.
But for Chinese to sell
Yeah,
potato chips and stuff.
where they'll sell like fries and because it's not potato chips.
Or fries, yeah. That I can always mix those two up.
Yeah, our chips are fries. Yeah.
The chips and crisps thing, yeah.
You going for a chippy? It's more about like having a It depends really, because like if chippy is just like a portion of chips, or you can sometimes refer to like a chip butty instead, which is a chip sandwich.
So anyway, Royce Keys.
Yeah, back to Rice Krispies. Yeah,
Rice Krispies. Powerhouse
Yeah.
Hobbs. I haven't had Rice Krispies in a while.
I think it's a bit lame. It's not like to go from Powerhouse Hobbs to that. It's quite lame, isn't it?
Yeah, that's blah. I don't like that. Royce Keys to me sounds like it's exactly the same type of person that's on Evolve. Like Harley Riggins and Braxton Cole and Jax Presley and Royce Keys. That doesn't strike me as Powerhouse Hobbs comes in and it's like, oh shit, this guy from AEW. Look at this monster of a man. He's Royce Keys.
As long as they keep the Powerhouse nickname, like call him Powerhouse Royce Keys, then maybe it doesn't flow as well as Powerhouse Hobbs, but like at least you keep that moniker attached to him, because otherwise he just sounds like a guy, and a lot of people like work just based on names, but it just doesn't feel as impactful. And it, Powerhouse Hobbs under certain guises could sound like a goofy name, but he worked for him because he was a powerhouse and his surname is Hobbs, so it kind of worked, or Hobson, should I say? But yeah, I just don't. I mean, they have to own everything, so I get that essence. But why do they have to come up with something so lame?
Yeah.
He came up with it, didn't he? Because they always come up with their own names, don't they? So that
not
must
always
be his decision.
It seems like the way that they do it, and even Rollins talks about it on the Unreal thing, that like a lot of the times it seems like they pitch a bunch of names and then WWE will either like take one of the first names and one of the last names, or that they'll just even like Liv Morgan had a thing recently where she said like, I'll even be just Oprah. And it became like, I don't know, we can't call you Oprah, but like I think that like Rollins, if I remember correctly, how he had said it, like he had pitched like something where Rollins was one of the last names and Dusty was the one that was like, why don't you make it like Seth Rollins instead of like blank Rollins or like Tyler Rollins or something. So like he could have pitched Royce. He could have pitched like Royce Hobbs or like Will Keys. And they could have been like, what about Royce Keys? Or he could have been like, I don't know, how about I'm something Keys? And they're like, let's go with Royce, like. We probably are not ever really going to know. Every once in a while, they do reveal what it is. Like Blake Monroe said that, like, isn't Blake like the name of her like niece or something? And then like Marilyn Monroe. And I think Saints is because he's from New Orleans. He's fucking Ricky Starks. I don't like that name, Royce Keys. Yeah, a name can screw over people. It can help people. Sometimes it doesn't matter. I guess we're gonna have to see. Speaking of a name, the Ringmaster, or Stone Cold Steve Austin, which one you prefer, is being rumored as a possible person to watch out for WrestleMania 41. Or for WrestleMania 42. I mean, not 41. 41 was already, that's so weird that 41's already passed by. Nothing at all that I've seen is worth being like, yep, okay, we should start talking about what is Austin doing at Mania. Everything seems like it's basically the same as what we always hear, which is like WWE put out some feelers and, who knows, maybe there could be something or whatever. And it happens every single year, just the same as how every single year here's the list of the Royal Rumble entrants, and you got to really pay attention to it because people will put out garbage and, they don't have that planned out yet. The two main rumors that I've been seeing, which if there is any truth to this, make a little bit of sense to me, are that Austin would face Roman Reigns or that Austin would face CM Punk. And
I think you're confusing that with the fact that Austin was discussed to face Roman Reigns like 2 years ago.
Well, that's what
I don't know.
I'm like. All the stuff that I'm seeing is like, oh, they supposedly they quote unquote whatever are pitching those ideas, and I don't necessarily buy that it's happening at all. Outside of maybe like, can we reach out to Steve and see if he's interested, and then if he is, of course they're going to do it. But that might not even be true either.
I mean, I imagine they've been pitching to Austin like every single year since he retired to do something at WrestleMania. And like WrestleMania 38 was the one day he picked up the phone and decided,
He said
you want me
they're
to?
in Dallas. Like, of course, I'll work in Dallas.
I don't think it's
Maybe-
happening. I'll just put it out there. I don't think Austin's doing it. If he does anything, I don't think he's wrestling.
I think
At
he'll
least.
appear, probably. I think he'll do an
I'm-
appearance because of where they are, but I'd be surprised if he wrestles.
I'm not being funny when I say this. I legitimately think if he ever wrestles again, it'll be Rock and it'll be next year in Saudi.
Yeah,
I
if The
think that
Rock
they just
wrestles
go-
next year and it's not against Roman, I'm gonna be so
I think they just go, here's $4 million each. Please do Rock versus Stone Cold. Can we get Limp Bizkit to play while the match is happening as well? Like, because like that's what these people want. I just saw something as I was scrolling that like they're prepared to offer The Rock the biggest offer in history to get him to wrestle next year. Actually, not even wrestle, just to get him to appear in Saudi.
insane.
There you go.
But the possibility of that, if they are looking for things to do at WrestleMania, because we don't know what the plan is for Mania yet, and a lot of this is very confusing right now, maybe we could be looking at a scenario where it's like, if they don't do Cody and Roman, which I hope that they don't, then what does Roman do? And maybe it's Stone Cold. Maybe he's got a Stone Cold match lined up. I don't know. I don't think so. I am, the heavy grain of salt with all of this at the very least. But that gets us into some of the other things we're talking about here. So we got to start rounding out things with some of the TV talk and some of the other things. There are about less than a third of the people that are going to be announced for the Royal Rumble have been declared at this point. For the men's division, we've got Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Jey Uso, Penta, Rey Mysterio, and Dragon Lee. For the women's division, we got Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez, Bayley, Lyra Valkyria, Asuka, and maybe Kairi Sane. I put maybe because nobody seems to want to confirm that. But Kairi has said, I'll do anything to make sure that you win the Royal Rumble for Asuka. So that could mean she's in the match and she will just, try to help her out. Or it could mean she's not necessarily in the match and she would try to interfere anyway. So until WWE puts her on a graphic or says something specifically, maybe Kairi's in there. And we're going to talk about the Royal Rumble stuff next week when we do our predictions. So I don't want to get too deep for our long episode as this is. But that's a little news flash thing for you. We'll touch back on that a little bit because we also got to talk about the idea that AJ Styles is going to face Gunther, meaning Gunther is doing double duty. And then I don't know if that means that AJ's not in the Royal Rumble, but he is only going to fight Gunther at the Royal Rumble because there was a stipulation put out there of you have to put your title or your career on the line to do this. And now there's even more and more reports coming out there that like Styles might actually be done at the Royal Rumble, which sounds crazy to me. I don't think he will lose, but I don't know.
The reports are circulating that his contract is up in February. So that would suggest that would be obviously right on time with this because it's the last day of January. So I don't know when in February his contract would be up, but that's it's one of those the classic WWE trope lose-lose scenario where like you shouldn't really have AJ Styles lose unless he's basically just told them my body can't take any more. I just want to end it here and like get a big payday from Saudi Arabia and I'll just end at the Royal Rumble. Because in a way it's like, well, actually it's perfect, isn't it? Because it's exactly 10 years from his debut. He debuted in 2016 Royal Rumble. and he would retire at the 2026 Royal Rumble. So there's kind of a finality to that. Where he's like, he did a full 10 years in WWE, and this is going to be the closing thing, and he loses to Gunther, because the alternative is that he wins that match, and you decide to cut the legs off Gunther immediately after he retired John Cena.
Which, that's like, I wouldn't book this unless it was actually the retirement for Styles, yeah.
Yeah, so I can only assume, unless they're dumb and they have a reputation to uphold, but if that this means that he's retiring and this is his final match. So I'm going in with the complete mindset of that, and if it isn't, I'm not going to be like 100% shocked. So it's like, oh my god, they didn't actually have good to beat him. But I'm fully going in with the mindset that this is AJ Styles' final match.
I still think, and by the time we get to our predictions next week, we'll have another episode of Raw and we'll have SmackDown to judge this based off. At this particular moment, I still kind of think that Styles is going to win the match, but he's going to do some kind of thing afterward where he'll be like, you know what? That's got me thinking. I don't know how much time I've got left, so this is going to be my last year. And it'll be like, I am going to bow out after this. But I don't like that idea necessarily, but at least that gives us more AJ Styles matches, because I still think that he should wrestle more people. So I could just be coping. We'll talk about that a little bit more next week. It was just a major topic this week for us to mention. I might even be the thumbnail for this. I don't know. At this particular moment, I'm thinking he could potentially retire, and that's kind of insane to be like 2026 is going to be my last year. And by that, I mean 5 weeks. Shit. Glad you did your Dragon Lee tag team. Fucking out of all the things to do.
Hey, that was on his bucket list. He had to end it with, like he said, if I'm going to end, I need to make sure that I had that tag title run with Dragon Lee.
Yeah. Other stuff from Raw, I'm double checking to see if there's anything that actually was all that interesting. Adam Pearce wants to talk to Braun Breaker next week, so that's already just going straight into the. Yeah, never mind. We're going to backtrack on that part of that story. I kind of don't see where they're going in that front. I don't understand what they're doing. Natalya turned heel. Yay.
Woo.
Woo. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's like so shocking. Like, she hasn't turned heel like 20 other times in her career. She is the female Big Show.
Absolutely. And the acting was so bad. The whole was like, Natty, why?
What?
Why would you do this, Natty?
What, Natalya in a bad acting segment?
Maxine.
She shocked me. Oh yeah, well, I'm not imagining she's like anything to go for, but like anything that Natalya's involved in, it must be associated with bad acting. So.
Raquel is like, I'm supposed to get a title match, but I'll also enter the Royal Rumble just for the hell of it. There's more with Javon Evans now. Originally, a hot tag was going to be, well, fuck, Javon Evans is injured, but it seems like he's okay. So that's good. Obviously.
Yeah, it's good they did it as precaution. So they had a precaution that he might have gotten concussed in the match, but like it seems like he got through it okay. And so I imagine they'll just, hastily put together a rematch with El Grande Americano where you can actually beat him.
Yeah.
On Raw, and then he'll get into the Royal Rumble. I kind of like was a bit thinking that maybe that was a bit of a blessing in disguise that he won't be in the Royal Rumble, because I think if he goes in the Royal Rumble, obviously it's good for him in terms of like the exposure and just like, oh cool, he gets to be in the Royal Rumble for the first time. But I think that they're going to give him the Kofi Kingston spots to do.
Well, there's on Botchamania this week there was a spot where apparently Michael Cole called him Kingston at one point. He was drop kicked by Kingston. We saw Kingston earlier.
But as I say, like that is a role that someone needs to. Well, they feel like someone needs to fulfill these days in a Royal Rumble. But my kind of mindset is, okay, it's a role to fulfill, but you know what Kofi Kingston never did? Win a Royal Rumble. So I think that pretty much like if he does something, if he does do a spot where he does like a handstand outside the ring or whatever, or jumps from the announce table into the ring or anything like that, I'm just gonna say, oh, okay, so he's your next
The boys bouncy
look,
is the same as Kofi being like not Kofi Mania, because Kofi Mania was the WrestleMania thing, but like the he could be our flippy guy.
Yeah, and I won't say it explicitly, but I will say these people. It's been Kofi Kingston, Naomi, and then maybe Javon Evans, and you can see a pattern there. So I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's patterns. That's for sure. Punk beat Balor, no surprise there. It seems like there's another groundswell of support for people that really want Finn Balor to break out into that. I would say to those people, temper your expectations. He's winning that Intercontinental title, not the world title.
Absolutely.
And,
so I mean, it's probably for the Intercontinental one, but I guess that's more likely. So
yeah, I think he'll beat Dom at WrestleMania for it. There were some things to talk about on NXT. For everybody's curious, the reason why Rob hasn't talked to, we lost Rob on this call, so he'll pop in at some point, or whatever.
Or not. Yeah,
maybe not.
We don't know. Hopefully he'll be back, but we can't be certain, unfortunately.
Maybe he's leaving with AJ Styles. Just kind of surprised.
The AJ Styles is actually going to retire and decided to just end everything.
Yeah, Styles is retiring Rob. That's what's happening. Elliot LaFleur made his debut. He failed to win the North American Championship from Ethan Page, and it was pretty much just Page holds the tights. Later on, LaFleur is backstage and says, "Thanks, Ava, for giving me a title shot or whatever." It's a little bit weird, but they gave him a good enough showing. And they really kind of made it a point, more so than anybody on this episode. They were really pushing Keanu Carver. And they showed footage of him arguing with Booker T during LFGA. They showed him not wanting to do an interview. He's, this like standout thing where they're clearly booking him to win one of the spots in the ladder match because he's up against Andre Chase of all people. So it's like, all right, so he'll destroy Andre Chase and get in there. Shiloh Hill beat Josh Briggs and qualified. Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes got their tag title, or not tag title, their tag team win. Super Sean Legacy is now on NXT, so he beat Eli Knight, which makes more sense. So right now, the field for that 6-way ladder match for the new NXT Championship is Ricky Saints, Sean Legacy from Evolve, now moving up, Shiloh Hill from LFG moving up, and you would assume Keanu Carver beating Andre Chase. There's also going to be Miles Bourne against Dion Lennox, so only one of them gets in there. And then the last one is not Tony D'Angelo because he got arrested on the show. It's Jackson Drake, the Evolve champion, against Joe Hendry, formerly from TNA. So next week, when we figure out what's happening with there, we will give our, predictions forward for February 3rd, but that's a little bit of your update. I would assume it's going to be Hendry over Drake and probably Lennox over Bourne in the match, but could go any other way. I don't know. Good showings for some of these people, though. And there will be a triple threat on February 3rd of the Women's North American Championship. Lola Weiss and Thea Hale against Izzy Dame. I don't think the title's changing hands. Jada Parker had a kind of stupid segment, I thought, with Blake Monroe, where she really didn't say much of anything. They were just sort of like, well, we got nothing for you, so just go out there and be you too and remind everybody you exist. OTM's trying to get the tag titles. They're probably not going to get it. And Zaruka has earned a shot at the Knockouts World Tag Team title, but they didn't say when that would be. That's kind of your episode of NXT for this week. Not a whole lot going on. I don't know what they're doing with the Tony D'Angelo arrest thing either.
Can I just say, as someone who hasn't watched a lot of NXT, obviously didn't watch the whole episode, but saw a couple of clips online. Get Kendall Gray and Lainey Reed up to the main roster like pronto. Like, they are too good for NXT. Like, they are incredible wrestlers. Get them onto a main show. I don't care if it's WWE, AEW, TNA, regardless. Get them onto a main show on television rather than just NXT. They are too good for the level that they are currently working at.
Lainey Reed too? You feeling?
Oh yeah, I thought that that fucking crucifix bomb that she did in that match. I can't remember who it was exactly, but like she has something. She's not as polished as Kendall, but she has something. Like I can tell with those two that they are going to be, well, they should be big. Put it that way. They should be a big deal.
And then last talking points for us to get into are I guess technically we have SmackDown predictions, but the Dynamite side of things and Collision spoilers, because they had to move the Collision. It was supposed to be a live episode happening on Saturday, but with the winter storm, they decided, very smart move, to just pre-tape it. And I don't know if anything's going to be crazy on the storm, but you would assume that it probably was going to be a mess. Little wonky, the Brody King MJF promo at the start, but that we know where they're heading.
Oh yeah, they'll have a match at some point, probably a title eliminator type match rather than an actual title match, because I don't know if Brody King's done enough to really earn a title shot. But I think they're doing a good thing right now. They have a lot of people vying for the title, where they've obviously have Swerve going after it, Joe still in the hunt. They've still got they have Brody King now, like doing stuff with MJF. Got Hangman Page still hanging around as well. So like they're starting to build up like a group of people that are all going to be vying for that title. Kenny Omega as well won a match against Josh Alexander on the show. So yeah, it's good to make the world title your focal point of the show.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt. I'm a little bit curious why they needed to have Bayley and Knight lose matches on here. I don't think that's really the best way to roll them out, of like Jet Speed and Page win the tag trios title, so then they just both lose matches. It kind of makes them look like, well, they're the weekends of that.
Yeah, I think there's always a balance to be played with it. I was a bit like unsure about whether to go ahead with these ones, but they clearly positioned Joe as main eventer. These strike me as two matches that were meant to elevate the losers in defeat. I think the Kevin Knight one succeeded in that more than the Mike Bailey one, but I think Mike Bailey's ceiling is lower than Kevin Knight's one will eventually be, just due to age and also just overall kind of look and physique about them. I think Kevin Knight can grow into being, because I'm not saying this just because they had the match together, but he does remind me of a younger Swerve.
Mm-hmm. I see it.
So I can see him growing into what Swerve is now, whereas Mike Bailey, I just think that he's always going to be there's just something about him which I think is going to prevent him from being a top main event guy. But so I was kind of okay with him losing to Joe for that reason. But it's still good to have new trios champions and just to freshen things up there. It would be good if like an actual trio won the titles and they defended them regularly. That's the most important thing, though.
We got two newcomers, Alec Price and Jordan Oliver, that did double duty for the show.
So the story behind that is MJF, I believe, defended the AEW World Championship at I can't remember what the promotion was, but it was an indie show against, I believe he was facing Oliver, but I might be wrong with that one. He was definitely facing one of the two. And then after he won the match, he then went up to them and basically offered them a contract to join AEW. And I know it was like the official announcement with Tony Khan doing the All Elite thing after the show, but that was the whole background to it. Was they were offered contracts to come into AEW by MJF in kayfabe on that show, which I kind of thought was a good idea. I was kind of like a bit annoyed, or not annoyed, but like because I think those two are good talents, and it's good to sign fresh young blood that has never seen hide nor hair of a WWE ring. It's a nice breath of fresh air. But it's all about, I thought, okay, MJF brought them in, they're going to be aligned with MJF, and that he's a good person because they can just be a tag team that can be pinners for him, like two guys that he's taken under his wing, and they're introduced that way, and so you get an immediate, if you don't know who they are, it's like, okay, MJF is vouching for them, and they're going to be his team, and they're going to help him out, and so you immediately get a connection through that. So I was a bit annoyed that they just came in and just had a job match against FTR. But, that's pretty much how the majority of people debuting in AEW don't have a pre-established name at their debut, so didn't surprise me that much.
And then, of course, we got some stuff leading in with Tekla and the feud that the Triangle of Madness have going on with the Cosmic Babes of Wrath and the whole setting up a TBS title match and a future shot against Statlander and all. It's all heading in the right direction. It's good stuff. Oh, yeah.
So Tekla against Statlander's happening not next week, but it's next week, yeah.
I think it's next week.
Yeah. And so that's good. I'm interested to see what the finish of that is, whether they just definitively either put the belt on Tekla, definitively have Statlander beat her, or they do some kind of non-finish to move it on a little bit in the future. I'm happy with either, as though I think Tekla's great, and I think Statlander's been great with done a good job as champion so far, so I wouldn't be upset with either outcome. Very much don't think Julia Hart is beating Willow though. I'm pretty sure they would have done spoilers for it, but don't change it there. But yeah, it's good they're building up the Triangle Madness as well.
And there was nothing else from Dynamite that I thought was really, you got to call attention to. I would say earmuffs for Collision if you don't want to know. Nothing incredibly crazy happens, but here are some spoilers for Collision for anybody that just doesn't want to, watch the episode tomorrow and they want to know. Let's see. Hangman beats Katsuyori Shibata. Statlander beats Isla Dawn in an eliminator match. Claudio Castagnoli retains the CMLL title over Roderick Strong. Proto Shida beats Austin and Billy Gunn. Davis and Doyle beat Price and Oliver. Andrade beats Magnus from CMLL. And Willow retains the TBS title over Julia. So apparently Steve Borden's son, Steve Borden, wrestled a dark match with QT Marshall. And also Baron Corbin had wrestled a match. It was it's Bishop Dyer, not Baron Corbin, but it's Baron Corbin. And Danny Burch, a.k.a. Martin Stone, Uri Gold, and Hadar Horvitz against Austin and Billy Gunn, Brady Booker, and Elijah Drago. So I don't know most of these names, but there might be something to pay attention to there with maybe Dyer ends up getting signed to AEW. Maybe these other guys do. Maybe Borden or, whoever.
I think Borden. I think Borden will eventually get signed just because of the Sting connection. I mean, hopefully he's good. He looked good in the spots that they had with him in the Sting retirement match. But obviously that was just a few little spots. But he's been training, and I know he's been doing other matches. And if he's been trained by QT Marshall, then that seems to be a direct flow into AEW at some point. But I would be highly surprised if his first official match in AEW on a live show or whatever wasn't against QT Marshall. That just seems like the sort of guy that you'd have it against. And I'm obviously I'm not going to be. I don't want Baron Corbin or Bishop Dyer to be signed. I just don't need another mid to upper level WWE guy coming into AEW. I think we have enough of those. And and also Billy Gunn, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Does this guy have compromising photos of Tony Khan or something at this point? Can we not just move on? He doesn't need a big blow off retirement match or anything like that. It's he can just go. Can we just have? Why do we need him teaming with Austin in a match? Why can't we just have? You've got Ace Austin. They have the Austin connection. They could be the Austins rather than the Guns, whatever instead. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's up with Juice or whatever, why he's not available or anything like those lines. But surely you can find something else to do while Colton is unavailable. But they'll keep using him. I'm sure he'll still be wrestling to having one match a year in AEW until about 2035 or something.
And last thing for us to talk about, predictions for some SmackDown stuff for tonight. Wyatt Six are defending the tag titles against MFTs. I do think that the titles are changing hands. I don't think Carmelo Hayes is dropping the United States title. He's got another open challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And
Do you know the
there's,
time it is, or is it just to say open challenge right now?
I think it's just an open challenge at the moment. Tamatonga's been wanting to get in there, so it might be him. But I don't think that they've like announced anybody. I think it's just like open a challenge tonight. And there's also a triple threat to determine who gets the next shot at the women's tag titles after tomorrow's Saturday night's main event. So we don't know who's going to be the champions, but between Bliss and Flair, Lash Legend, and Nia Jax, and Julia and Kiana James, it's, you know, whoever wins. If it's one of the heels, then I'm going to assume Rio retains, which I do still think that Rio is going to retain. But if Morgan and Perez win, then if it ends up being Bliss and Flair, I'm going to start to be like, oh, maybe they actually are changing those titles. And I don't think Johnny Gargano loses Axiom's mask this week. I think that he beats Fraser, and then it becomes like Axiom versus Gargano, for that matter.
Yeah, I think that's probably likely. I think, I mean, I'll go with like Jackson Legend winning the number one contenders match, because I do think Rio is retaining the title, and it's more of a heel leaning lineup anyway. So I think it's more likely to go in that direction. I don't think it'll be Julia, and I mean, it could be Julia and James if they just decide that they're just going to be more fodder for Rio to go through until they finally drop the titles to someone. But yeah, I'll go Jackson Legend still.
And that's our very long round of hot tags. Make sure you leave your comments below and tell us what you think about all these topics. Chime in with any pros or cons, anything coming up that you're excited about or interested about or whatever it might be. And make sure that you, of course, pay attention to everything else under the link tree. Find that on amangotree.com. All my different stuff there. Smark Out Moment, Fanboys Anonymous, so on and so forth. Follow Rabbit Dude Felice. And round us out, Callum.
You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Wigmeister14 and check out the Power Rankings every Saturday over on smarkoutmoment.com. I rank the WWE superstars based on their prior week's performances. And you can also check out the Fantasy League over through Smark Out Moment or at WWEFantasyLeague.com to see how our rosters are doing as we head towards the Rumble, where there will be a lot of points up for grabs for the eventual winners of those two big battle royals.
Cool. So you guys know what to do. Leave those comments below and tell us what you think. And stay tuned for the Saturday night's main event coverage and the post show immediately following that tomorrow. And then next week, we got the Royal Rumble. So start getting in those Royal Rumble predictions if you're interested in filling out that form. And we will be talking about all of the positives and negatives when it comes to that next week. But for now, this has been another Smark Out Moment. And we're being counted out.